Okay. Well, welcome everyone. I really appreciate, I know it was kind of last minute having everybody get together, but I really appreciate you all joining us today to talk about bringing MBU back on and what that looks like. Um, I I will let the other agencies kind of speak about what it looks like for their agencies. And then we'll talk about what paperwork and logistics and what it means to come back as far as the NPS is concerned. So what I may do is ask Joseph, would you mind starting off for state parks and talk a little bit about what it means for MBU in state parks? I will tell everybody that state parks and MRCA and NPS did have a meeting. So what you're going to be hearing from us should be fairly repetitive from all the parks, or the agencies, but I'll turn it over to Joseph to start.
Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. Yes, we are in uncharted waters. Of course, this is all new to everybody. And first of all, I want to say that there's no expectation or obligation of people returning to patrol. This is purely a voluntary thing. If someone really feels like they need to, they want to, then we're coming up with a strategy that people can come back. And it will be a heavily modified type of patrol with obviously the CDC and the California Department of Public Health guidelines taking front and center. So that's really what we're looking at. Social distancing, strongly encouraging wearing of masks, no direct engagement with the public, just basically going out there and doing your true core duty, which is the eyes and the ears of the park and reporting anything that's really, really bad via phone or radio. There will be a modified paperwork. We're supposed to talk about the paperwork now.
I can put up the form if you'd like me to.
I mean, everyone's going to receive an email copy of the forms. And basically, when you first signed up to work with state parks, you signed the volunteer service agreement. There's a modified one of those that reflects specifically the COVID-19 stuff. You will have to sign that. And we're also going to provide you with a modified duty statement, which you need to acknowledge. Is very similar to what NPS is doing, but the state and the feds have a little bit different practices. And we expect you to adhere to these guidelines on the respective properties. But the take-home message I really want to drive home is no one is going to be kicked out of this for not patrolling, and no one is going to be kicked out for low hours. The hours are completely out the window at this point. This is simply an avenue for people who want to come back, who want to volunteer. They will be able to do so in a safe manner. And if we decide or we think or we feel or we find out that it's not working out in a safe manner, we'll cut it off just like that. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to come up with a strategy to make it safe, to give people the avenue they want, and do it safely. That's about it.
Okay, thank you, Joseph. Rosita, do you want to talk about what's happening with MRCA?
Yeah, so unfortunately, legal is still updating the form for the volunteers. So that means that the volunteers will not be able to patrol on the MRCA land as of today. I will be in contact with you, Sarah, just, when they're able to update it. But right now, no volunteers are allowed to.
Okay. Yeah, and it's with MRCA, it's not just MBU. I believe that's volunteer-wide, because I was talking to somebody else with MRCA and talking to them about the horse patrol. And they said that they're not ready to bring the horse patrol back either. So.
Yes, exactly. So for all volunteers, not just MBU, we're just trying to, get a form out just for all the volunteers to do it safely, as well as for the MRCA. It is going to take a while just because we are understaffed and hours are being cut, so it is going to take a while.
Yeah, I think that's the case with, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joseph, but California State Parks is also, you know, really short-staffed. So there's, you know, I'm waiting to hear back from state parks as to whether or not they're going to be bringing on horse patrol and
I
other.
have no audio.
I'm sorry. So it is a situation that people are, you know, we ask for your patience. We are trying to do our best in getting you back and active in the park. But like Joseph said, that your safety is paramount to us. And so, Eric, do you want me to talk about this, or do you want to talk a little bit about expectations for NPS?
Yeah, I can talk about it, and then if I miss anything, you can fill in some gaps if you'd like.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Good to see a lot of your faces. I can only see 6 at a time, though. Sorry, but all right. So I guess really there's 2 things that I'm thinking of in my head here that everyone will need to kind of know and understand by the end of this meeting. And those 2 categories, the first one is what you're going to be expected to do while you're on patrol, specifically what you can and cannot do, which I'll talk about here. And then also the second category will be what exactly steps need to be taken in order to get yourself onto a patrol to get going. And so as far as how we're modifying for the NPS for patrols, it's basically a reiteration of what Joseph said. We're basically coming back down to the core of simply going out on the trails, riding the bike, observing and reporting things that you see that need to be reported. We're trying to keep our social distance as much as possible. We do not, as the NPS, have any expectation for our volunteers to be engaging with the public. If you see a medical emergency, you are not expected to provide medical aid to the patient, okay, because that would bring you within that 6 feet boundary. And so in that case, what you would do is get on the phone or get on the radio and call for EMS help. And so that's kind of one big difference is we're saying you're going out on patrol, but you're always maintaining that 6 foot distance. So if you just think of it that way, that's probably the best way to think of it. So for example, if you typically would hand out maps to people, well, that's not something we'll be doing now because that would bring you within that 6 foot distance. So we won't be doing that. Another important piece is the medical packs. So in order to have any kind of shared equipment that's being used by multiple volunteers, we need to have a way to disinfect that equipment. And so for the shared medical packs, we're canceling those during this time. So we will not be using those. If you want to bring your own med kit for yourself, your own personal one, that's fine. But any shared equipment, as far as that goes, we're not going to be doing med packs. We are still going to be using the shared radios, and we're going to have a policy that you must disinfect it with wipes prior to every patrol. And then when you get back from the patrol and you put the radio away, you've got to disinfect it again. And that's obviously to protect each other in case somebody is infected and doesn't realize it and uses the radio. As far as PPE while on patrol, as Joseph said, wearing masks is strongly encouraged at all times. We are not able to require it, and we're not going to be out there pointing our finger at you, but it is something that is recommended. And so that's where we're at with that.
Is a buff sufficient?
Is it what?
Yes, the
Is the
buff
net gator sufficient?
yes, sir. The net gator or buff is sufficient. And in fact, that's what I wear at work most of the time. A few questions. This is going to be similar to if you've gone out to a doctor's office or the gym or any public place since things have been opening up. We are asking everybody to consider the following questions before you go out on a patrol. Obviously, if you have a fever, don't go. If you've been around someone with symptoms or a confirmed case of COVID, you cannot go on patrol. And if you're experiencing any symptoms associated with COVID, you cannot go on patrol. So again, like all things that are opening up in sort of a modified way, the first priority is everybody's health. And so the last thing any of us want to do is start spreading COVID around amongst ourselves. So we've got to just kind of police ourselves in that way. And if you're feeling sick or you have a fever or anything like that, then just don't go on the patrol. The other thing is no more than 4 people to a patrol, which is kind of standard. And amongst your patrollers, stay 6 feet apart at all times. That's all I've got right now. Sarah, is there anything that you can think of?
Yeah, so I mean, there are certain questions that have come up, like, what do I do if I see a dog off leash? Well, don't engage. I mean, that is our biggest message to you, is do not engage with the public. You can report it. We want to hear it. But we don't want you to engage with the public. Now, having said that, if somebody comes up to you, we don't want you riding away as fast as you can from them either. We want you to maintain that social distance, and we want you to feel safe. And we strongly, strongly encourage you to have a mask with you, so that if you are engaging with someone who's asking you a question, you can put a mask on and have that extra barrier to keep yourself safe. We are going to send out all the paperwork in one big packet. So I've got Joseph's paperwork. What I'm going to do is, that's why I have asked everybody. I know there's some people that may not have heard this message, but if you came on after we asked everybody to do this, I need you to put your name in the chat box so that we have a record of everybody who has attended this meeting, so that I can send out an email to everybody who was at this meeting with all the paperwork. Now, whether you choose to fill out the paperwork and come on board with us, that is up to you. Like Joseph said, there is no expectation of number of hours this year. We value you as a team member, but we really want you to be safe and healthy. And if you feel that in 2 months down the road that you think that things are better and you feel safer about coming on board, then you're more than welcome to come on board and come back into service. But everybody will be required to fill out all the new paperwork because there are guidelines. It talks about what you're expected to do, kind of like what Eric talked about and Joseph talked about, not engaging with the public, social distancing, call in on the radio, making sure that you're wiping down the radio. And I did see a question in the chat box just briefly. Are we supplying the wipes or are you supplying the wipes? I will tell you that we do have a limited supply, and so we do have somebody going out to put them next to the radios. But if you have sanitation wipes, hand wipes or something, it's probably best to bring them with you as a backup in case somebody used the last one and you get there and there's nothing to clean the radio with. We do ask that if you run out, please contact us to let us know. And we will try as fast as we can get more hand wipes to get them out to the sites. But like I said, if you've got hand wipes, just bring them with you so that you can clean down the radios before you use them and then when you put them away. Trying to think. So what I'm going to be sending out is I'm going to be sending out everybody a new 301A form, and I know a bunch of you just signed it, but I've been instructed by Washington that everybody needs to sign a new one. There's going to be a COVID-19 position description talking about those steps or things to think about as to whether or not you're fit for coming back on duty. And then the code of conduct. If you've already filled out a code of conduct, then I'm not going to ask you to fill one out again. That's still good. But if you haven't filled one out, I'm going to ask you to fill that out and send that back to me as well. And I will attach a new position description for everybody to look at that's good for COVID. While we're in this whole pandemic of COVID-19, now as things change in the future, the position description may change and we may ask you to start engaging with the public, but at this time, it's really important for you to all understand that as much as we know that it can be really frustrating seeing people not social distancing or using face masks, but that's not what you're out there for, is to enforce these things. We as National Park Service Rangers cannot enforce social distancing and face masks. So we are not asking you to do that either. You are basically our eyes and ears, and you're out there to answer any questions that may come up, but you're also there if you see somebody in need of help, to get on that radio or on your phone and call for the support that needs to come. So at this point, I'm going to open it to questions. So if you have a question, we've got 100 people on this call in this session. So if you have a question, take yourself off mute and go ahead and ask. And if we start having too many problems, we may ask you to raise your hand before you speak so that we can call on you. I see,
Eric, you mentioned we're not expected to do medical. You didn't say expect. Do we still have the capability of doing medical? Is that our option or is that forbidden?
Oh, good question. Yeah, that's forbidden.
Okay, because a lot of us have our own med packs, and on our med packs we have the MBU with a first aid cross. So if people were to see that, if we're carrying it, we need to cover that up if we're not allowed to be giving out medical assistance.
yeah, no,
Yeah, that makes sense.
we don't want you to provide medical assistance because like Eric said, that puts you within the 6 feet of someone and exposes you to an unnecessary risk. So if they need medical attention, call on the radio.
This is Richard.
Yes.
Are we considering continuing this year's new recruit training?
So we have talked about allowing up to 4 people to ride together as long as there's social distancing. So they can do ride-alongs, and like we discussed earlier, I don't know if Rosita has had a chance to look over that video with her supervisor, but we had talked about the fact that, you know, if you all wanted to do your portions of the training, that you can continue to move forward with that. But at this point, state parks and MRCA are not able to do any trainings that they have typically done in the past.
Can I go ahead and allow people to view the YouTube videos that have been posted for previous years?
I will have to, Joseph Rosita.
Are you talking about, are they the videos that were made like 10 years ago? For
Well,
State Park?
they're probably 8 years old now.
Right.
They have essentially the same information. We might just have to send out an addendum that tells what rules and regulations may have changed in the meantime.
Right. Yeah. I know this has been extremely frustrating for the training team, and I'm sorry for that. But the fact is that at this point, we're just not in a place with state parks to start training more people to patrol. So I think of things at present, we're just sort of on a holding pattern. And I don't know if I want to train people in this modified format and then have to come back and figure out a way to retrain them to do all the full scope of duties down the road. So I'm not sure where we are with that. I'll have to think about the whole, where we're going to go. But at this point, we're just kind of on hold. I mean, honestly, I know it's frustrating, but we're just on hold, if that makes any sense at all.
Well, I feel I owe all of our new recruits at least an update on the status, and I figured I would get the latest right from each agency to know what to tell them.
Okay, why don't I talk to you individually this week sometime? I'll make
Okay.
contact with you, and we can come up with a strategy for that, okay?
Sure.
All right. Thank you.
I think Dan had his hand up.
You're ready.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I have a couple questions. One, actually statement, if you haven't put your name in the chat box, put your name. If you can't figure out how to put it in, then get me a message or get someone a message, email someone a message who is in the meeting to get your name in the chat box. And secondly, on common areas, let's say I was to go out at the end of Reseda Head and then head up into Big Wild, would it be considered acceptable even though I'm passing through MRCA?
Who's?
Looks like I'm being locked up.
Whoa, we're back. Hello, everybody there.
I'm here. We're here.
Joseph, we can hear you. Dan, we heard you. I think that's a question for Bristida, MRCA, if we can pass through MRCA to patrol other properties.
Yes, if you're able to just quickly pass through MRCA, then that's fine. It's just if you do come in contact with the person, say less than 6 feet, and that person remembers who you are and they get sick, then we'll be liable for that. And we're trying not to get that on the agency.
Russell.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Russell, you're on mute.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. So, for example, I've been out riding in Malibu Creek on my own, and I noticed a lot of people with dogs out there. So you said don't confront them because the dog's on leash, off leash. It's kind of out of control out there. There's tons of people and a lot of dogs.
Yeah, but you should never confront someone.
No, I don't mean confront. I mean, say hello, how are you? Need a leash.
Right. I think what we're trying to accomplish here is to give volunteers an outlet because they want to ride, but it's a heavily modified outlet that has new rules and new parameters, and it's minimal public contact. And I don't mind if people wave and say hello through the mask or whatever, but the superintendent basically told me that if people are less than 6 feet apart, he wants masks worn. So there it is. That's how it works.
All right.
But if people are social distancing and you're in someone's, I mean, you can, I don't mind if you say hello and tell them, hey, I don't know. I'm not sure how this is going to work, quite frankly. It's going to be, the important thing is that everybody stays safe. So if people are out there, we're going to start maybe implementing a new report where you're going to tell me a little bit more about graffiti and stuff, where people can start reporting it a little bit more so I can do a counter report from my desk, that kind of thing.
Right.
We're just trying to come up with ways that volunteers can be helpful and also feel fulfilled on themselves. But I don't have all the details worked out because I haven't been out there trying to patrol in a modified format. And
So you're basically saying just let it go and make a log of it, right?
yes.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you, Joe.
Uh-huh. And remember, anything I say now, it could change tomorrow. I want to make that clear. This is going to be it's going to be an ever-changing development.
Because I've seen people, they're smoking, they're drinking, they got dogs. It's kind of gets crazy out there, especially on the weekend. So,
right.
You know that.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
All right.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, and then I've got, I see 3 hands up, so go ahead and ask your question, and then I'll go to Sonia, Jeremy, and Eugenia's iPad.
Okay, I'm just wondering, do we sign up for patrols like we have in the past?
So what happens is once I get the list of all the volunteers that are here, I will send out the paperwork. You have to fill out the paperwork and send it back to me. And then once I have made sure that all the paperwork is filled out completely and signed and everything like that, then I will let Dave St. Aubin know that you've done all the paperwork and everything's good to go, and he will activate your account so that you can become active as a volunteer again.
On our website?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you.
Yep. Sonia?
Thanks. So I have about 3 questions, sorry. So getting back to MRCA Parkland, I'm thinking about how much I like going up Caballero on my way to Topanga State Park. So let's say I'm passing through MRCA Parkland Caballero. you know, that's at the end of Reseda, right? Or it's on the way up Reseda across the street from that golf or country club. And I encounter an injured biker or a hiker. What does NPS or state parks recommend is the best course of action?
Oh, you're not supposed to be on MRCA property anyway. So wait, I'm not going to suggest.
Reseda said it's okay.
I'm not going to suggest what you should do on another agency's property. That's not within my purview. I mean, you as a private citizen should do what you think is right, but I can see now there's a lot of questions that are coming up that are getting more. One of these is, can I give medical supplies to people? What if there's serious trauma? Can I perform medical stuff on people? These are all great questions. But the answers, I mean, I can't tell you what the answers are exactly. I may even have to reevaluate some of this stuff just because of that. So, but I can't tell you what you should do on MRCA property.
Yes, we strongly suggest that no one goes on MRCA land just because there's not going to be any form for you guys to sign. Okay, we really want you guys out, but right now legal is trying their best to come out with a form for you guys to come out to patrol on our land. But if you're going to go stay on your free time, then that's fine. But if you're going to be patrolling and on duty, then you cannot be on MRCA land. I get that, you know, MPS and state parks and MRCA have parks within, you know, less than 10 feet. But if you quickly go by MRCA to MPS or state parks, then that's fine. But if you're in MRCA land more than, say, 10 minutes, then yes, we strongly feel that you shouldn't be on MRCA land without any form saying that you can work on that.
Okay, Jeremy.
Yeah, so my question was about the medical supplies and like if somebody's really hurt, you know, and can you just like put it on the ground and say, hey, here's some bandages and I'll call someone, you take care of yourself. And I think that Joseph, you just kind of touched on that, but I think it's like a best judgment given the situation, and best thing is call for help and do the right thing. So
yeah, that's so one of the guidelines for the modified duty statement for state parks is thou shalt not give or take any object from a person. So that sort of answers your question. But I mean, first of all, I think people are confusing what we're trying to accomplish here. People who like to go hiking in MRCA and then go into Topanga State Park, that's great, go do that. There's no reason for you to be an MBU to do that. What we're trying to do is provide a way that you can help the park services and meet your volunteer goals in a heavily modified form. So, I mean, I honestly expect people to do Point Magoo, Malibu Creek, Topanga, and Will Rogers, those 4 properties. And you pick a day and you feel like being on an MBU patrol that day and you go do that thing. You go patrol at that area and you do what we ask you to do within the form of the modified duty statement. And that's that. There should be, I mean, no one is getting paid. Everyone should be perfectly happy going and hiking in MRCA property or National Park Service property on their own. But we're just trying to give you folks a way to do the MBU thing. And it's, again, my head's about to explode because of all these questions are great, but I just don't have a good answer right now. I mean, I know me personally, the Good Samaritan Act would have a role, but everybody's going to try to sue the agencies as soon as something goes haywire. And if you give somebody, in good faith, if you give someone a bandage and they get COVID-19, it's because of that bandage they got it. So these are interesting questions, and I don't have good answers for a lot of them, but I hope this makes some sense. Yes?
thank you. Yes.
Okay, Gina. You're on mute. You're on mute. Still can't hear you.
They can also type messages. The chat box is lighting up with all kinds of interesting questions.
Can you put your question in the chat box because we can't hear you?
Oh, you cannot hear me?
Oh, there.
Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
I just said that thank you for the meeting, and I'm so happy to see you all and wish you everybody very, very
We lost you.
My question is very simple. What can we do besides just patrolling to help you guys?
What can you do to help us other than patrol?
Yes.
Well, I had put out an email asking if anybody wanted to go through our website. I got one response.
Not sassy with that.
Yeah, you know, patience, have patience. That's huge. Right now, we're all doing the best we can. So have patience.
Well, thank you.
I think we shouldn't undervalue just the presence of being there. The lost family who's going the wrong way and sees a yellow uniform and decides to ask, hey, is this how we get to X, Y, or Z? Or the downed unconscious hiker who needs someone to call a helicopter to come pick them up. Those are valuable reasons for the MBU to be out there. And I think there's value in that. So I mean, it's just a matter of figuring out all the different issues and also making sure it's safe for the volunteer. And I mean, that's where we're grappling with these issues already, but that's what I see happening.
I think Matt, did you have, yeah.
Yeah, just real quick, this might be a tough one, but obviously if anyone's injured, that should be called in. But from the agencies, any kind of guidance on a low threshold of what you guys want to hear reported on the radios in real time? I assume like dogs off leash is not something you guys want to hear about, but like vandalism, you guys want to hear about that, right? I mean, can you elaborate a little bit on what the lowest denominator of what you guys want to hear about as far as infractions? Just some guidance there.
For the state, it would be crimes in progress or emergencies.
Okay.
So if you saw someone actively graffitiing a wall or someone was injured, that would be a call in. The dog stuff, I mean, it's a million dogs. For example, right now there's two people on, I'm one of them. And I've got 2 pending calls right now that I'm shagging, so it's not easy, and there's no way I could respond to a dog call. So it's that stuff. I do have a pilot idea that I'm working on that would be, I get a lot of emails about, hey, there's graffiti here, there's graffiti there. I think I'm going to set up a short form where people can provide me with more information, where it is, what it is, the size of it, when you first saw it, that kind of stuff. So then I could pretty much just draft a basic short form report from the information provided by the MBU, which I think will be useful. If that makes sense.
Hey, and while he's
That's
taking that,
helpful,
I'll
Eric.
just jump in.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll say for NPS, it's going to be the exact same. Crimes in progress or emergencies, definitely call those in. Anything else that you just see, like you see some graffiti or dogs off leash, things like that aren't big of a deal, those could go in your report and we'll monitor that and maybe try to patrol certain areas more if we see a big problem that you report. But as far as what you actually are calling in on the radio or phone, yeah, just crimes in progress or emergencies.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I also will take this opportunity real quick to reiterate something that you've heard a bunch, but it's worth reiterating over and over. No one is expected to go out and get hours and patrol. You do not need to explain to us if you don't want to. If you want to just not come back while the COVID's still going on. There's no explanation needed. There's nothing more important to us than your safety. And we're, as Joseph and Sarah have said, we're trying to provide a way to bring you back, and as an outlet, and sort of to keep our team together in a way. But it's I want you to have fun, and don't put yourself at risk. There's just no reason. So you don't have to come patrol. You will still have your job when you decide to come back and patrol. If it's months from now, it doesn't matter. Nothing's happening. No one's going anywhere. And if you're out there and you want to stay away from people, you want to stay more than 6 feet, you stay more than 6 feet. There's no expectations other than I do expect that everyone will take their safety and the safety of the public as the most important thing on every patrol. And because that's what's most important to me. And so just want to say that again.
Somebody asked, how can we direct lost park visitors? Do the best you can as far as giving directions, verbal directions, because we're not handing out maps and things like that. You can point them to trailheads that have maps before they start their hike. Hopefully they've got a map. But yeah, if you are talking to them though, I strongly encourage you wear a face mask. I've got several screens of people, so I'm doing my best trying to keep an eye on the chat and also looking for hands that are raised. But does anybody else have any questions? Yes, I'm not sure who that is, but yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Sarah, it's Bob Keating. Just a general comment. I think all of us as volunteers and, good Samaritans, we want to be able to help somebody who's been injured or is in need of help. The whole issue is not only keeping us as volunteers from being exposed and catching the virus, but also prevent park volunteers from potentially being exposed to the virus if we're carrying it. So that's, I can certainly understand the policy hands off.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I see somebody in a purple shirt, I think, with their hand up.
Hi, this is David St. Amant. I'm a recruit, and I'm wondering how much of this applies to the recruits. How do we get back on the website so that we can join patrols that are in place?
So, let me talk to, Joseph is going to be talking to Richard, and let us all talk about that. We had purposely said that we could do up to 4 people so that the new recruits could do ride-alongs, but let us have a conversation about paperwork and things like that, because we're trying to figure out about training, because we don't have the capacity right now to do a lot of training and to do a lot of onboarding. And I sincerely apologize that that the group of new recruits got caught in the middle of this pandemic. And I mean, there was no way that we could see this coming when we recruited people. And so I know it's going to be super frustrating for all the new recruits, but we will do our best to keep you engaged and do what we can, but just know that we need your patience too with the process.
Okay, understand. Thank you.
Yep. Yes, Juan Carlos. You're on mute.
There you go. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Well, I've been riding my bike every day, but I just wanted to tell you guys there's a new bike park that's open at Avenue that's Arborles in Westlake, and that's pretty awesome. I've been going there every day. And another thing is, for Sarah or for Eric, do we still have to call in NPS or do we just go on patrol?
So once you are cleared to come back on into service by doing all your paperwork and everything, then you will have to call in with your number, call into service and call out of service. Any other questions? And I'm gonna just open it up. So if you have a question, don't raise your hand, just ask, because I'm trying to scroll through the chat box to see if there's anything that we've missed. So feel free.
So Sarah, I want to ask you one more question. How long do you think the process is to sign all that paperwork and for you to approve it? You're talking about next week or you're talking about tomorrow?
Not tomorrow. It will probably be, I'll try to get out I'll get the paperwork out to everybody by the end of this week. And then as soon as you guys get it into me, I'll start going through it. But there are 100 of you and one of me. But I will try to get to it as soon as possible and let you know that I've got the paperwork and make sure that Joseph gets his. Or Joseph, do you want them to send the state park stuff directly to you, or do you want them to go through me?
They can fill out, print, sign a copy, and then they could, I ultimately need to get a hard copy back to me in some manner, so I don't care how they do it. If they want to send a temporary electronic scanned copy to me, that's okay, as long as they plan on sending the rest of it to, I'll put the address in the text chat box, or if they want to come by the office and drop it off at the same address, they can do that. But ultimately, we're going to need copies of the paperwork before anybody does anything. And ideally the hard copy, but a scanned copy signed would be acceptable in the short term. That makes sense?
Yeah, I was curious of how we get these hard copies to you. Do we mail them or hand deliver?
You can do either or. It would be
Yeah, so I was gonna say the same for NPS. You can scan and send it to me so that I have an electronic copy, but we would like to have the originals at some point too. So what you could do is email it to me and then put it in the mail if you want.
Or hand deliver to NPS?
Our building is closed and the visitor center is closed. So if you are going to hand deliver, you're going to have to set up an appointment.
Okay.
Sarah, now that so many of us are doing PDFs and adding in our signatures digitally, and same thing for all of our answers. Can we just email that to you? And that would be, because it would include our signature. Can that just be the hard copy so we don't actually have to physically print it out and physically bring it to you?
If you can digitally sign it, then I will accept it as your signature.
I need a hard copy.
I would prefer a hard copy, but if you can digitally sign it, then we'll take that. So somebody asked, are there any plans to resume first aid CPR training for MBU? There are no plans for any training at this point because we're still under restrictions of number of people that can gather, and first aid CPR training, you are in close quarters and sharing equipment, and that's just not going to happen at this point.
So, question,
All right.
can you hear me?
Yes.
So we mail the hard copy to the Thousand Oaks address,
Yes.
care of you. And what about to Joseph? Is there an address to,
I'll post an address in a minute.
okay, all right, thanks.
Do you need me to type in the address for?
No, it's at the Thousand Oaks, right?
Yeah,
Care of you.
Yes, yeah, send us the address.
Yeah,
okay.
send us the
If
address.
you want hard copies, give us addresses.
All right.
I want to ask a question of clarification. Are you going to post the forms to us, or are you going to mail the forms to us that we fill out?
I'm going to mail the forms. I'm going to email the
You're going to email
forms.
the forms? And so is Joseph going to email forms as well?
Well, what I was going to do for Joseph, because he sent me his forms, I was going to send all our forms as one package.
Okay, thank you.
So will you have the addresses for Joseph and yourself on those forms so we can mail them to you?
Yes, I can put, well, Joseph will have to give me the mailing address, but if he gives me the mailing address that he wants, I can put that in the email.
Okay, that would be helpful. So we have all the addresses.
Mhm. Somebody asked, who is the representative from MRCA today? Rosita, are you still on?
Yes, I'm still here.
Can you introduce yourself?
I'm sorry, was there a question?
Somebody wants to know who you are.
There seems to be an echo. Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, somebody wanted to know who was the representative from MRCA today. And so I was wondering if you could introduce yourself.
Okay. Well, my name is Briseida Vargas, and I'm a ranger with the MRCA. I've been with the MRCA for 3 years as a ranger, and overall, it's been 8 years.
Thank you.
I just got, I guess, a little bit a text from Lohill who said that the maximum number of people for a Zoom meeting is 100. So if there were more than 100 people, I don't know if they were unable to get on our Zoom meeting.
Yes,
right.
they were unable to get into the Zoom meeting. And Zoom also does not work
audio for Safari. I guess Zoom is in some kind of a war with Apple. So that really sucks though, because I'm not going to put Chrome on my computer. Google knows enough about me. They don't need to know anymore.
All right. Hey, I apologize, everybody. I have to go. I'll anything you need from me, email me directly or call me on the phone, and I'll be glad to talk to you. But I have to go. I apologize.
Thank you, Joseph.
Bye, Joseph.
Brasida, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay. Here's another question. Is it okay for us to request a parking card if the one we have are expired already, even though we cannot patrol at MRCA properties? So I guess they're asking. Go ahead.
I'd have to ask my supervisor to see if you guys are still able to get those. But in my opinion, I'd have to wait until you guys are patrolling on our land once again. But I can always ask that question to my supervisor.
Great, thank you. All right.
Hey, Sarah, is there like a due date where you want all these forms to you, or just whenever?
Whenever you can get them to me so that I can get you active. So now I do have days off. So if you send it to me on like at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the evening, and I have like 2 or 3 days off, you know, have patience. Because I'm trying to be good about work-life balance. But I will try to get you, once I look at your paperwork, I will try to get everybody's paperwork checked over and sent to the right people, and we'll get you back on, and I will send you a notification and CC Dave St. Aubin that, and the other park rangers, to let everybody know that you've met all the requirements and you're good to go back into service. So, okay, we're down to 87% people, so I think people are starting to drop out. Any last minute questions? If you do, I can't, like I said, there's so many screens filled with people. Don't raise your hand, just take yourself off of mute.
Is there a particular MPS park that is still closed, like over on Corral Canyon, or is everything open now, MPS wise?
Eric?
Let's see. No, everything is open except 2 of our properties that I mean, you wouldn't really ride in anyway, but Rocky Oaks and our Arroyo Sequite properties are still closed, although Rocky Oaks might be opening soon. But no, all of the trails to ride are open. I can't think of any that are closed. If that changes though, I'll definitely send out an email. Is there any? Yeah. Yes, that's the answer.
Okay, thank you. And the closed also means closed to hiking?
Yeah, like Rocky Oak, some of our properties are still closed because of hazardous waste from the Woolsey fire.
Yeah.
And so we're waiting to get that cleaned up in some areas. But I don't think that impacts, like right now, Western Town is closed while they're cleaning that up. So access to trails at Paramount is not possible, but none of the major MBU mountain bike trails are closed.
So all the trails are all the trails in Paramount closed, or just the ones around the Western Town?
Well, This is a good question. It's kind of fluctuated a little bit. It's the main thing was keeping people out of Western Town, and but then people were coming in across the creek from the backside, from the airfield side, and then accessing it that way while the cleanup was happening. So I don't know if they've closed some of that off over there, but I don't think so. I think they don't want anybody right in Western Town because they're actively scooping up stuff that could have hazardous dust in it or something. But yeah, the rest of the trail should be open. However, the contractors are kind of in control of that. If they start feeling like they need more space, we're gonna go with whatever they say in terms of the safety in our maintenance staff.
Okay.
Do you guys want to know if we see some major trail building, blazing going on by some of the groups out there now that are kind of active doing that, being that there's less oversight going on and we come across it? You guys want to be bothered with that intel? I think Juan sometimes is kind of keyed in on that stuff too.
Yeah, guys, I would say specifically for trail building, if people are building illegal trails, as you know, that's been happening in the past year or so. If you guys come across anybody building or maintaining what you know to be illegal trails or non-commissioned trails, I would say definitely we want to know. If you see it in progress, that's a crime in progress, and I would say get on the horn, radio or phone, call dispatch. I would like to have a chat with those folks. And address it then. If you just see the trails and it's not like being worked on, there's no people around and you want to report it, feel free to send me a text, and I'll look into it when I can. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Sarah, it looks like a number of people were blocked from getting on. Do you want them to contact you and they can just see a recording of this?
Yeah. What we'll do is I really didn't expect we'd have this many people come this evening. So yeah, what I will do, because there are some other people who couldn't make it this evening, what we'll do is we'll get this recording uploaded someplace so that people can review it. And then I'll send it out to everybody what the link is so that they can take a look at it. And we may ask them a few questions just to make sure that they've got the key messages down. And then ask them to fill out the paperwork.
Okay, so they should contact you directly.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Leah, I guess we found out the magic question of number of people, number of participants.
Yeah, once it hits 100, those who try to get on after 100 will get a message saying the Zoom session itself is full or you're blocked. And then if a person drops, then another person comes in.
It's hopeless. The only way I get a hold
There's a larger plan you might want to look into getting.
by LinkedIn.
Yeah, well, we can't purchase. We can't.
No, it's only $5 more a month.
Yeah, but we can't do it. Our park partners.
Talking to Lee. She's the park partner.
I do not have that. I do not have that financial decision making for this.
Yeah, she doesn't have money.
Give you the $5. Jeez.
The government doesn't let just any of us spend $5, Joyce. Come on. We can't be trusted.
I'll give it to you. Come on.
Yeah, the other problem is she's using government equipment, so she can't have an account and use a government. So it's complicated.
Different park partner. Different park partner.
It's a different park partner that's helping us out. But we'll make sure, Stacy, to work with everybody. to get everybody who really wants to come back be able to come back. Okay.
Also,
with that,
to just let you know, some of the other video programs, chat programs out there, don't block you if you're using Safari browser, which a lot of people use Safari, because it won't allow you to hear the audio on Safari. You can see the video, but you can't hear the audio.
yeah.
Zoom doesn't allow it.
There's so many different programs out there, WebEx, all sorts of Teams. We've been encouraged to use Teams, but that's really difficult to use for large gatherings because you can only see 4 people at a time. But anyway, we're doing the best we can, and we'll keep moving forward and working with people that have problems that couldn't get on or have questions. So, all right. So I am just checking to see if there's any, was there anything that I did not cover that somebody wants to know about before we sign off? I tried to get through the chat and cover everything that I thought wasn't covered, but it was hard. Going once, going twice.
I want to say that if you did not sign in and you have a phone number or as your ID, or if you have something that says iPad and you didn't write your name in the chat, there's no way for us to know who you are. So please make sure that you put your name in the chat. And if you have like 562-945-4920, I don't know who that is, and 714-345-8070, I don't know who that is, and there were 2 iPads. So, and Linda, I saw you came into the meeting, so I have you down.
Those might be people who've dialed in and may not have access to chat, Joyce, FYI.
Right, that's why I'm saying if you could tell me that who you are right now so that I know. So I know that one of them is Lee, but the 562-945-4920, I don't know who you are. And 714-345-8070, I don't know who you are. No? Okay, going once, twice, 3 times, you're out.
All right, well, thank you.
Just a quick clarification. If we're in the MPS park and we're maybe kind of in an isolated area going up a long single track climb, do we still have to have mask on in a situation like that where we're very isolated and we're 12, 18 feet apart at least from the other MBU riders?
No. No, if you guys are riding in social distancing, the part where we ask that you wear masks is if you are within 6 feet of somebody else, or you're stopping and having conversations with people. That's where we ask that you put a mask on to protect yourself and to protect each other. No, I don't expect, I know what it's like even just hiking, riding horseback. When I'm out on patrol, I have a face mask on. And that's not that challenging, but hiking through the park with a face mask on, I know what that's like. And in hot weather, so I can't even imagine riding a bike with a face mask on. But having said that, do what you feel is safest for you. So, okay, great. Well, thank you, everyone. I am going to stop the recording now, and I wish you all a very lovely evening.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, and I will get the paperwork out to you by the end of this week. All right, have a good night.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.